So if this is an answer that you can write in the exam, then there's no way that you will be losing marks, right? So it's a guaranteed win, right? Next, we'll move on to the next questions. Hello guys, welcome to another video where in this video I'll be discussing the ICAI Study Mat Questions, which is for the chapter 1 Study Mat Questions. After the Study Mat, I'll be moving on to the question bank, which contains this one contains the past year questions, the MTPs, RTPs, and the suggested answers, right? So we'll start with the Study Mat first, and then we'll go towards the question bank. Okay, so right, test your understanding. Question number 1. Okay, so Lalji Bhai has purchased shares of a company listed on the NSE. Okay, so he has purchased shares that are listed on the NSE. Okay, the audited financial statements of the company provide a picture of healthy financial performance, having robust turnover, low debt, and good profits. Okay, on the above basis, he meaning this Lalji Bhai, the investor, is absolutely satisfied that the money invested by him is safe and there is no chance of losing his money. Okay, so do audit results and audit reports of the company provide such assurance to the investors like Lalji Bhai? Okay, so obviously to this kind of question, what we'll have to answer is that the market price of shares, right? Market price of shares that are listed, or basically market price of any shares, have a lot of factors, right? The market price of shares are dependent on various factors, right? So just by seeing audited financial reports, you cannot conclude that the company has no possible way of shutting down or the share price falling, right? So firstly, we'll have to start with the fact that the market price of shares are dependent on various factors, and then next we can move on to the fact that audit does not provide the audit does not provide absolute assurance, right? It doesn't provide absolute assurance. What kind of assurance does it provide? Doesn't provide absolute assurance, right? So what kind of assurance does it provide? It provides only a reasonable assurance. Okay, so these are the points you can write, right? And next, audit has inherent limitations. You can write that also. Audit has inherent limitations, so therefore it cannot give such level of assurance as mentioned by Lalji Bhai. Okay, so in the end you can write a conclusion stating that the audited results and audit reports of companies do not provide such assurance to investors, or do not provide the assurance as to the money being safe, or that there is no chance of losing money. That kind of assurance is not given by the audited financial statements. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Test your understanding 2. Good Deeds Limited is engaged in business of recycling of waste from dumping grounds of Municipal Corporation of Indore to usable manure. It is in this way also helping to make the city clean. Okay, next. During the course of audit by Zoha, the firm of auditors, it is observed by the auditors that company has received a notice from the central bench. All this is just useless information right here. Okay, you don't have to pay attention to any of this, right? For not following any certain environmental regulations involving imposition of hefty monetary penalty on the company. The company is yet to reply to this notice. The auditors point out that the same is not stated in the notes to account in the financial statements. The company points out that the auditors are going beyond the scope of their work. Does such matter fall within the scope of audit? Okay, so firstly, what falls in the scope of audit? Do any of you remember, if just try to recall what falls within the scope of the audit? Okay, so scope of audit. Like start with the scope of audit. What does scope of audit include? Firstly, he should cover all aspects related to the financial statements. All aspects related to the financial statements. Okay. Next. Secondly, he should ensure reliability and sufficiency as to reliability and sufficiency of the financial statements. Okay. So it should be reliable and sufficient. Okay. How will he do this? Through checking the accounting system, which includes the notes to accounts as well. Okay, notes to accounts. So basically them telling that what is to be stated in notes to accounts, it is outside the scope of the auditor, is wrong, right? Because as we saw here, it is to ensure that there is reliability and sufficiency when it comes to the financial statements, that he will check through the accounting system and internal control also. Okay, and the last point is presentation and disclosure. Okay, so here presentation and disclosure, the auditor will have to ensure adequate disclosure. He needs to ensure that there is compliance with statutory requirement, right? And the financial statements are present in accurate summary. Okay, and also that ensure accurate disclosure, ensure adequate disclosure, compliance with statutory requirement, and financial report present an accurate summary. And lastly, that the financial statements are historical financial information of the entity which show its obligations and assets, obligations and rights, right? So these are the this is the scope of audit, right? So what is not in the scope of audit, like that they've not asked, right, as of now. So here they've just asked whether checking the notes to accounts, whether adequate disclosure is there in the notes to accounts, forms part of the scope of audit. So here, as we discussed, it falls within the scope of audit. So here it is yes. So you'll have to write all that, and then you'll have to conclude it with yes, it is within the scope of audit. Okay, next, we'll just move on. A huge fire broke out in Noida plant of KT Limited. Plant assets comprising building machinery, inventories were insured from branch of a public sector insurance company. Apart from the insurance surveyor who was deputed for assessing losses, the regional office of insurance PSU also appointed a CA for verification of books of accounts of the company and circumstances surrounding its loss. He requested you to submit an early report. Would the report be in the nature of an audit report? Okay, so basically here it is not related to the so here there's a specific purpose, right? Here there's a specific purpose, right? Which is to verification of books of accounts and financial records and circumstances surrounding the loss. Okay, since this is for a specific purpose and they are requesting an early report. An early report means before the financial year has ended. Okay, so in this case, do you think it's an okay? We just talk about the kinds of engagements, right? So here engagements, there are of two types, mainly the assurance engagement and other related services, right? In assurance engagements, there are three types again. One is an audit, second is a review, and lastly the any other assurance engagements, right? So here audit is for historical financial information. Okay, so here we can find out that it is relating to the historical financial information. So if it is relating to historical financial information, it can be either an audit or a review. Okay, so it can be other assurance engagement as well, but since they're requesting for a verification of the books of account and it is predominantly of historical financial information, I would tell that the answer is review. Okay, so this is basically how you're supposed to analyze the answer. Okay, so since we'll just go through the answer for this, because the framing can be quite tricky, right? We'll just go down and check out the answer for test your understanding number 3. So these are case studies. Yeah, test your knowledge. Not this. Answer to the MCQs. Yeah, test your understanding here. Right. So we'll just take to the first one also, what we had written, right? So first one was that Lalji guy investing and telling that the audited financial statement gives a very accurate and it gives absolute assurance, which is wrong, right? So we'll just see what ICAI has given here, right? So here, an audit does not provide assurance to the investors in shares regarding safety of his money. Share prices of securities are affected by a range of factors. An audit only provides a reasonable assurance, right? So we had covered all these points, so which is very well. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Here they said that the case against the National Green Tribunal is not to be disclosed in the accounts, and then the management were telling that is none of our business and it is outside the scope of audit. So here obviously proper disclosure of financial statements is well within the scope of audit. Okay, so it is correct. What we had discussed was correct. Next, appointment of CA for verification of books of accounts and circumstances surrounding the loss is looking for a specific objective, right? So that's what we had discussed, right? So specific objective was there. Next, so it is an investigation and not in the nature of an audit report. So here it is an investigation, right? So I told it was a review. Could be a review also, but review is also again an assurance engagement, since this is for a specific purpose. And so how you will analyze whether it's a investigation is, so there are 3 things. So when it comes to investigation, firstly, it is for a specific purpose, right? For a specific purpose. Secondly, the scope of an investigation is very narrow, right? Is very narrow and focused, right? Here it is looking into a wrongdoing. There's already something that has gone wrong, and this is an investigation into the wrongdoing. Okay, so it starts with a negative view. Okay, starts with negative view. Okay, so these are the how you find out whether it's an investigation or report. Okay, so we'll move on to the 4th question. Where was this? Test your understanding. Yeah, test your understanding. Question number. There were a bit of MCQs over here also. Okay, so here there was a case study actually. Let's see if we covered all of these. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3 we had covered, right? So 1 was done, 2 was done, 3 was also done. Next we'll move on down. Okay, so case study 1. Okay, so this could come in the exam because it's already given in the ICAI Study Mat, so it could come. Okay, so we'll just go through this. Okay, so Rohit, Gurpreet, Ali and Goretti are friends since their school days, based in Mumbai. They've cleared the CA foundation exams in the same attempt and now plan to appear for CA intermediate. All of them are avid news listeners and regularly keep track of business news events or even on social media. Okay, now they are trying to understand new subjects including auditing. Rohit, Gurpreet and Ali have also started attending live coaching classes being conducted by Board of Studies ICAI. Goretti has not been able to join the live coaching classes yet, as she was away on a holiday with her parents. However, she plans to catch it up with her friends very soon. Ali, okay, all this is bullshit, right? This is not even required for the question. I don't see anything that is material here, except for this blatant ad that I put in between. Okay, next. During an informal get-together, their discussions centered around the new subject of auditing. Verify. Next. They discussed many things regarding its nature, scope, benefits, and other general practical issues. Next here. Gority was a regular in keeping track of audited results of companies. Her view is that audited financial statements give 100% guaranteed to different stakeholders. Okay, so this lady doesn't know what she's talking about. She's pretty dumb, I feel. So Gority is pretty dumb. Okay, so she's telling that the audited financial statement give 100% guarantee. So what have we studied? So it doesn't give absolute assurance, right? Does it give absolute assurance? Does it give absolute assurance, meaning 100% assurance? No, a big fat no. Okay, so it does not give absolute assurance. What kind of an assurance does it give? Gives a reasonable assurance, right? So we'll just move forward, right? I just stopped here to clear this point. Okay, so it gives an absolute assurance. Okay, the main reason behind so much reliance upon auditing. Okay, so she's telling that it is the main reason behind so much reliance upon auditing. But she could not understand why wrongdoings in financial statements are being discovered after so many years have gone by. Ali, another idiot, who also concurred with her opinion and added that when financial statements are audited, each and every transaction appear in the books of accounts is verified. However, he could not give clarity to Gority. Okay, obviously both of them are dumb. Okay, so we'll not rely on their stupidity and we'll move on. Right? Gurpreet was of the opinion that the audit was conducted on the basis of the sample checking, which is correct. Okay, so Gurpreet guy or girl is pretty smart. Okay, he's telling the correct things. What is also another name for sample checking? It's also called as test checking. Okay, so it can come in a different name also. You'll have to be careful. Okay, so it can be called as test checking also. Okay, so he was also of the view that audited financial statements are not a guarantee against probable wrongdoings in the financial statements of the companies. Okay, not to be left behind. Rohit also jumped in the frame. He supported Gurpreet and added something of his own. Okay, so here we can see that Gurpreet and this Rohit guy are pretty smart, and the other two friends are pretty dumb. Okay, kind of balancing it out, basically too dumb, too smart, right? Okay, firstly, we'll get to the first question. Gurpreet was of the view that audited financial statements are not a guarantee against probable wrongdoings in the financial matters of a company. So this is kind of correct. Okay, so till now I don't find any problem. Next, what kind of assurance does an auditor provide? Okay, firstly we'll mark off the wrong answers, okay, which we know that are completely wrong. Okay, we'll just start reading the question as options, right? So it provides reasonable assurance, meaning moderate level of assurance. So obviously reasonable does not mean moderate. Okay, reasonable does not mean moderate. Okay, it provides a reasonable assurance, meaning a low level of assurance. Both of these are almost the same. Moderate and low are kind of, or basically low is lesser than moderate. Okay, so here reasonable assurance meaning a high level of assurance. This seems right. I think C is the answer. It provides reasonable assurance meaning an absolute. This is wrong. This is what those two idiots were of the assumption that it gives absolute assurance. So this is wrong. Okay, so A is wrong, B is also wrong, D is wrong. So C is the correct answer. Okay, next. Rohit added that the auditor can force an employee of the company to provide him with the required information. Remember in the revision video that I was telling that an auditor has the right to unrestricted access, but he cannot force anybody. He cannot take sworn statements. He cannot conduct searches. He cannot demand any information be given to him. Right? So obviously we know prima facie that the statement is wrong, meaning that the auditor cannot force an employee to provide the required information. Okay, so we'll read the first question. Yes, he can do so. It is necessary to obtain audit evidence. No, he can't. Okay, so he can request it, but if he is not given with the information, then tata bye bye. Okay, no other argument there. Okay, next. Yes, he can do so. There are express rights given to him. That's what, see, he is given the right to unrestricted access, but if he cannot force them against their will, right? So here again, this is the wrong answer. So A is wrong, B is wrong. Next we will see C. No, he cannot do so. He can only request for providing him with necessary information, but it cannot be forced. Okay, so this seems correct, so I'll just mark it. Okay, next. No, he cannot do so. He has no right to of seeking information and documents, therefore the question of forcing does not arise. This is very wrong. Okay, so firstly, an auditor has the right to request for information. He also has the right to you have to remember, it is an unrestricted access. Okay, that is one of the preconditions of audit. Okay, so here, since it is a precondition of audit, he has the right to go and ask for information, but he cannot force it. So we will mark C as the correct answer. Next, Ali had listened in one of the classes of audit, covers all aspects of an entity, and concluded that each and every transaction of the entity is verified by the auditor. Goretti also seems to be in agreement. See, both of these idiots, they're pretty much idiots, right? Obviously, it covers all aspects of the financial statements. Firstly, it is not all aspects of the entity. They cover only all aspects of the financial statements. Okay, so your auditor will not go and check all unnecessary things. Okay, he is only concerned with the financial statements. Okay, next. So each and every transaction of the entity is verified. No, each and every transaction is not verified by the auditor. Okay, Goridi also seemed to be in agreement, but she was of the view that besides this, it also meant that audit should be so organized to cover all areas of an entity. No, both, I feel both are it could be was of the view that it also meant that audit should be so organized to cover all areas of the entity. No, I feel both are incorrect, right? So views of both Ali and Goretti are incorrect. Okay, next we'll move to the fourth one. I mean, we'll just check. I'm not so sure about this, but we'll see what ICAI is given. Next, all of them also discussed about the benefits of auditing. Which of the following is not okay? See, this is where a lot of people make mistakes. Okay, they keep forgetting to read this word "not." Okay, so meaning which is not a benefit, right? So keep in your mind that we are looking for something that is not a benefit. Okay, since audit is connected with future events. Right here, right, the first answer only seems wrong. Okay, because it is not connected, right? Auditing is not connected to future events, right? Audited information can be easily relied upon by the users. Okay, this is prima facie wrong. I don't feel like we should read any other options over here, but anyway, let's just do. Okay, errors or fraud may be discovered, which is correct. Okay, so that is one of the benefit. Yes, so this is a benefit, right? We're looking for not benefit. Okay, not a benefit. Okay, government authorities can make use of financial. Yes, of course they can. This is also a benefit. It brings on helps in bringing out deficiencies. So this is also a benefit. So this is only not a benefit. Okay, this is the only one that's not a benefit. So A is the correct answer. Okay, next, Goretti told her friends that she had read a news report about how a company has misled its auditor by producing fabricated documents. Okay, when it comes to fabricated documents, immediately in your head what should come? Auditor checking whether a document is genuine or not is outside the scope of audit, as auditors are not experts of verifying genuineness of documents. Okay, so we are not there to check the genuineness of documents. So if it is fabricated evidence and the auditor has relied upon it, it is not the auditor's fault. Okay, firstly we'll just go through the options, right? So it was wrong on the part of the auditor to rely upon the fabricated documents. So since I already told that in case of fabricated documents, the auditor is not an expert of checking the genuineness of documents, so we are going to rule it out. Okay, so this cannot be the answer, saying that the auditor was wrong, right? So that is obviously not the answer. Next, although it was wrong on the part of the auditor, see again, it's not the auditor's fault. Okay, anyway, we'll just keep on reading. So although it was wrong on the part of the auditor to rely upon fabricated documents, he could not do anything in the matter. He has to report on the basis of documents provided to him. He has no duty in this regard. Okay, next, Auditor has to conduct audit by exercising professional skill, but he is not an expert in discovering the genuineness of documents. Hence, management consisting of dishonest person may have led him to rely upon fabricated documents deliberately. Okay, and lastly, I think this is the correct answer. Okay, I think C is the correct answer. We'll just read the just to be sure. Management cannot mislead the auditor. Lol. Okay, lol. Due to high level of knowledge and expertise possessed by him, the above is an outlier case, one of the rare cases. Outlier means out of the usual. Okay, like out of the ordinary. So basically, this can never be the answer. Okay, this is basically imaginary stuff they're writing. Okay, imaginary option, that is, right? So it is not B also. The correct answer is C. Let's just go through. So 5 is C, which is correct. 4 is A. So C, C, D, A, C. Should be C, C, D, A, C. So here C, C, here D, correct, and then A and C. So C, C, D, A, C. So all 5 are correct. Okay, according to ICAI as well. Okay, next we'll move on to test your understanding 4. Next. Here, Zebra Products is a partnership firm engaged in trading of designer dresses. The firm has appointed JJ & Co. chartered accountants to audit their accounts for a year. Okay, next. The auditors were satisfied with the control systems of the firm, carried out required procedures and necessary verifications. Good, they've done all that. Next. In particular, they carried out sample checking of purchases, traced purchases bills to GST portal. Fantastic. And also make confirmations from suppliers. Okay, next, they were satisfied with the audit evidence obtained by them as part of the audit exercise. An audit report was also submitted to the firm giving an opinion that financial statements reflected a true and fair view of the state of affairs of the firm. Okay, so till here I didn't find any problem. Next, however, it was later discovered that the purchase manager responsible for procuring the dresses from one location was also booking fake purchases of small values by colluding with unethical dealers. Payment to these dealers were also made in connivance to the accountant through banking channel. Okay, next. The partners of the firm blame the auditors for futile audit exercise. Are the partners of the firm correct in their viewpoint? Imagine any probable reason for such a situation. Okay, so here obviously we can write multiple points. Okay, so here we can start with I think what they're asking here could be audit risk also. It could be inherent limitations of auditor also. Okay, so inherent limitations of audit also. So I feel like if you write audit risk and the inherent limitations, maybe 4 points of this, which are okay. I'll just cover the answer. Okay, like what I would write as the answer. Right, then we'll check what ICAI has given. Okay. So firstly, I would write that audit does not provide absolute assurance, right? Absolute assurance. Right, it provides only reasonable assurance, right? Next, what I would write is audit evidence is persuasive, not pervasive. Remember that persuasive is different. Persuasive and not conclusive, or we can write rather than being conclusive. Right? You can also write that internal controls also provide a reasonable assurance, right? So these are some of the topics of audit risk as well as inherent limitations of audit also. Okay, so we can write these points. Okay, firstly, that one more point is that saying that any amount of audit procedure of increase in audit procedures won't or will not help auditor overcome the inherent limitations of audit. Okay, so we can write these 4 points, and then we can write the I think if you write one of nature of audit procedures to explain that it is one of the inherent limitations. So I feel like that is what they are looking for here, because here they also stated in detail that like with regard to audit evidence, and like they had that, where is that, yeah, they had carried out required procedures, right? I think they want to know whether even if the audit procedures are performed, whether there are any limitations. I feel like that is what the question is diving towards, right? So that's what I would write, right? What comes under nature of audit procedures? Obviously, immediately the two words that are supposed to come into your mind are, it is neither practical nor legal. Neither practical nor, or rather there are practical and legal limitations. Right. So what are the practical and legal limitations? So firstly, when it comes to writing about practical limitations, we can write that all the transactions cannot be checked, or audit procedures can't be applied to all transactions, or it is not practical to apply. Right, you can just write it is not practical to apply audit procedures to all the transactions. Okay, so when it comes to legal, we can write that auditor does not have the power to conduct searches. Auditor doesn't have power to conduct searches. Does not have power to conduct searches or take sworn statements, right? Okay, next, what are the other things that we can write here? You can also write the 3 points about the management. Okay, so the management may not give all the evidence, or management may not provide all documents. Okay, what else can the management do? Management can give fabricated documents. Okay, and lastly, management may enter into related party transactions, avoiding any paper trail. Right, meaning he cannot, without leaving any evidence, he can enter into related party transactions without anybody getting to know those are related party transactions. Okay, so that is basically what it was trying to tell. So if this is an answer that you can write in the exam, then there's no way that you will be losing marks, right? So it's a guaranteed win, right? Next, we'll move on to the next questions. Okay, here I think this we can go through. Okay, so what kind of assurance does the following provide? Okay, I'll just zoom in so that we cannot see the answer. Okay, oops, we can still see the answer a bit, but it's okay. Let's be true to ourselves and not see the answers. Okay, so here, audit of financial statements. An audit always gives a reasonable assurance. Okay? Reasonable assurance. Okay, next, review of financial statements. Review is always a a limited amount of assurance. Limited, what does limited mean? It gives a moderate assurance. Okay. Next, examination of prospective. See here, prospective is in assurance engagement, meaning other assurance engagements. Okay, it's neither an audit or a review. So here it gives a very lower assurance. Okay, lower assurance. And lastly, reports on the control of an organization. Right, this gives also an assurance regarding the design. Okay, and that's okay. Next, test your understanding number 5. Okay, finally we're moving ahead. I think there's a few more questions. I think this is the last test your understanding, or maybe there's one more, and then we can jump into the ICAI questions. Okay, test your understanding number 5. Okay, so here the management of Exotic Tours and Travels Limited requests its auditor Raja & Co to provide an assurance report based on the financial information for the first quarter by skipping the required detailed procedures. What? Not possible. Okay, this is absolutely not possible. Right? Can Raja & Co provide such a report? Yes. Okay, see, first of all, they can give such a report. Okay, but they cannot, it won't be an audit. Okay, so it won't be an audit. So what will it be? It will be a review engagement. Okay, so review engagement. Okay, what would be the nature of such report? Would it be necessary for them to obtain sufficient and appropriate evidence in such a case? So first of all, we'll just break down the question. Can Raja & Co provide such a report? Firstly, I'll just make this 1. Okay, so yes, Raja & Co can give such a report. Okay, what is that report called? It's called a review engagement report. Okay, or a limited review engagement report. Okay, so it is basically a review engagement. Okay, next, what would be the nature of such report? Okay, meaning they're asking what kind of an assurance that would give. Okay, so a review engagement or such an engagement would give a limited assurance. Okay, so it is not a complete or a reasonable assurance. It is a limited assurance, meaning it is a moderate assurance. Limited assurance engagement, where you get only a moderate assurance. Okay, so a moderate assurance. Okay, and lastly, would it be necessary for them to obtain sufficient? Yes. Okay, firstly, review also requires okay, so firstly you can read that review engagements are to follow standards on review engagement, and secondly, that review engagements also have to requires evidence. Okay, requires sufficient and appropriate evidence. Okay, next, okay, test your understanding number 6. Okay, CAP Babu is conducting an audit of the financial statements of Quick Buy Private Limited. He was not able to obtain external confirmations from certain debtors due to practical difficulties or peculiar circumstances. Okay, first of all, this will come in evidence chapter. Okay, when we are talking about audit evidence, which is basically SA 500 if I'm not wrong, which I'm not, I think. So it comes in a later chapter. Okay, so this is relating to audit evidence. Okay, however, such a procedure is a mandated one under standards on auditing. Yes, that is correct. Okay, unable to obtain external confirmation, he relied upon the sale details, e-invoices, e-way bills, and also traced the payments from these parties in bank accounts of the company. Okay, next, he was also reasonably satisfied with the audit evidence obtained. Is there any other reporting duty cast on him relating not to follow our mandated procedures? Okay, since we have not discussed this, we'll keep this on hold, or rather we'll just check what ICAI has given. Okay, just check what ICAI has given. It's question number 6, right? So firstly, he is required to document how alternative procedures were performed and how it was performed to achieve the purposes required, reason for such departure, and basically we had covered this actually. So it was a question relating to whether following standards on auditing is mandatory. Okay, so is standards on auditing mandatory? Okay, so what was the three things that he had to do? Like, he can deviate. Okay, so auditor can deviate from essays. Okay, he can deviate from standards of auditing. Okay, when he does that, he'll have to do three things. Okay, so he'll have to write the what do you call that? Yeah, the procedure, the alternative procedure performed. Right, so what was the alternative procedure that was performed? Okay, and how it helped, and basically how it helped achieve the objective, how it helped achieve the objective. Okay, next, secondly, he'll have to record for reason for departure. Reason for departure from standards on audit. Okay, and lastly, he'll also have to draw a report that, or he should mention in his report that the standards of auditing has been departed, or or to such departure. Okay, so you'll have to bring attention to departure. Okay, bring attention to such departure from departure in his report. Okay, basically that's all. Okay, so we're done with the test your understanding part, and then I think there's a case study somewhere here. Yeah, case study 2. Right, okay. So Me and You Private Limited has been newly incorporated. The plant of the company has recently started production with the help of funds provided by the bank for purchase and installation of its machinery. Further, the company also utilizing the working capital credit facilities of the same bank for meeting its day-to-day working capital requirements, like for purchasing raw materials, labor payment, etc. Right? However, within just 6 months of its operations, the management feels that the working capital funds are inadequate and situation is creating liquidity issues for the company. Fantastic. Okay, good for them, rather bad for them. Right? The management of the company has approached its bankers and requested for enhancement in working capital facilities, right? And then the bank manager is insisting upon the financial statements of a company for half year along with a report providing assurance in this respect, duly signed by a chartered accountant, as audit is far away. Okay, right? So basically, instead of asking for the full year, they're asking for a half yearly audited financial statement. Okay, next, it also requires projected financial statements for upcoming years along with a report from a CA providing assurance regarding these projections to consider the request of the management. Okay, so basically they're asking for half yearly, and they're asking a report from a CA to ensure that these projections that have been made are accurate or not. Okay, so I don't see a question here. Okay, oops. Okay, here. The management approaches CAP, who has qualified recently and started practicing. Reports providing assurance for half yearly and projected financial statements are sought. Okay, so basically those are the So basically for half the year and not the full year, and then projected statements. Okay, so these are the basic two assurance that are being asked. Right? The management provides necessary information and records to him in this regard. Okay, assume in the above case the company only provides trial balance financial statements in preliminary or draft form along with the accompanying records. Okay, blah blah blah. Okay, so firstly, when I read this mutually agreed professional fees, right, and them asking to make draft or preliminary form along with accompanying records. Okay, so it prima facie seems like this half yearly would be a review engagement, right? It would be a review engagement, and this projected financials would be a other assurance engagement itself, right? Right. Since or it could be the fact that they're asking a single statement on both of these, meaning a single statement on both half yearly as well as projected in a single report, that would come under related services, right? Because only in this related services such kind of a combination or maybe agreed upon services come. Okay, so agreed upon services. So according to ICAI, it has told that it is related services, which I am guessing the answer is, but my heart like I cannot agree that it is not a review engagement and another assurance engagement separately. Okay, so we'll just read what ICAI has given and then we'll move on. Okay, so firstly here, so since we'll see, according to us, a review engagement should have been applied here. We'll just see what is going on here. Okay, the first question: the management of a company engaged CAP to issue a duly signed report for half a year, as referred to in the last part of the case study. Which of the following standards, if any, issued by ICAI are relevant? Okay, so here for the half yearly, right? For the half yearly, it should have been a review engagement. A review engagement will have SRE, right? So the answer should have been SRE, but according to ICAI, the answer that they have given is C. Okay, so which is very questionable, right? Because here they've only asked for half year, right? So half year is obviously a review engagement which is a limited assurance engagement, right? But we'll see. We'll see if ICAI brings any amendment as to this answer later. Okay, but like I'm the only reason I know that ICAI has given this beforehand before checking the answer is because in the classes, Neeraj sir had already told me that like this is wrong, right? I had already told it in the class that like this is what ICAI has given. I still remember that this was the wrong option that is marked correct by ICAI, right? So obviously, according to, if you apply your brain, it would be standards on review engagement, and this is what was suggested to be ticked, or this is what was suggested to be marked as correct, right? Because later, if it changes to the correct answer, we could be getting marks or we could be losing marks depending on that scenario. Okay, next we'll move on. Okay, which of the following statements is most appropriate in the given case? Okay, firstly, CFE can assist the management in preparation of financial statements. However, issue of this report is outside the scope of work. Okay, so obviously he can, if he assists, in PPFS, meaning in presentation and preparation of financial statements, then that auditor or practitioner cannot give the report or cannot give an assurance report. Okay, so these are the two factors that we have to keep in mind while selecting this answer, right? So CAP can assist management in preparation of financial statements, and he can issue. Okay, so basically we have just discussed this over here. This is an obvious wrong answer. Okay, so you cannot ever mark this as correct, right? Next, CAP can assist management in preparation and presentation of financial statements of the company, and he can issue a compilation in this report. Okay. Next, in above said scenario, for issuance of signed financial statements for a half year, as discussed in the last para, identify the most appropriate statement. Okay, so standard on quality assurance is not applicable as CA cannot issue audit report. CAP cannot issue an audit report. Okay, firstly, what does SQC1 say? SQC1 states that all firms engaged in the performance of either audit, review, assurance engagement, or any related services have to maintain quality standards in that particular firm, right? So this is what SQC1 tells, and it is applicable to all. It is applicable to audit, it is applicable to review, it is applicable to any other assurance engagement, right? And it is also applicable to the related services. So there's no escaping SQC1, irrespective of what kind of firm you are, or like what kind of an audit firm, or what kind of services that you provide. You have to follow SQC1. Okay, so here obviously saying that SQC1 is not applicable is wrong. Okay, SQC1 is not applicable as CAP cannot issue review report, which is also wrong. Okay, standard on quality is applicable in such type of engagement, seems correct. Standard on quality control is not applicable as CAP is barred from issuing report. Obvious wrong answer. Okay, so C is the correct answer. Okay, next, the banker of company has also requested for projected financial statements for coming years with a report to projections. Which of the following standards are relevant? Okay, so here obviously when you're okay, so review engagement is for historical financial information. So obviously this is a wrong answer, since they've shown that it is projected financial, right? Meaning it is future financial information. So obviously review engagement is wrong. There are no standards. Okay, this is obvious wrong answer, right? So either it has to be C or D. Okay, so according to me, I think it is C. I think it is D, because it is an assurance engagement and it is relating to the financial statements. I don't see anything that is here that is outside an assurance engagement, right? Here we're giving an assurance to the bank. So I feel like it is standards on assurance engagement. I feel that ICAI has given this is the correct answer. We just check. Okay, next, in case in the exam this question comes, I would recommend marking D, because I mean we'll see if there's any change. I will let you guys know. Okay, next, CAP also accepts work issuing projected financial statements with a report to be signed by him. The management has projected turnover of 100 crore for the next year, 150 crore for next year, and 200 crore for the following years respectively, as compared to the present 25 crore turnover in the current half year. Identify the most appropriate. Okay, firstly CAP has to what is the first option? It is CAP has to satisfy himself regarding the arithmetical accuracy. Seems correct. Okay, next, CAP has to satisfy himself regarding the reasonableness of the assumptions underlying the projected turnover. Correct. This is also seems correct. Okay, we have to pick whatever is the most accurate. Okay, CAP has to satisfy himself regarding arithmetic along with its proper presentation. Okay, this is also correct. Okay, lastly, CAP has to satisfy himself regarding reasonableness of assumptions underlying the projected and its consistency with the actuals, disclosure, and presentation. So most of these are right, but most appropriate is D, is what I feel. Okay, so D is the obvious correct answer. Okay, so the answer is C, 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 and D, D. Okay, we just check what we have done. Like I told you, ICAI has given this as C. Okay, so we'll just see what comes with this. Okay, so here it is C. I think there's something wrong here. We'll just see what it was. Okay, we'll just see what went wrong here. Okay, the responsibility is of the company's management. CAP cannot assist in the preparation. However, he can. Okay, see, the thing is he can assist. Okay, CAP can assist. Okay, here the question was he can assist. Okay, But if he assists, he cannot provide a report. Okay, so saying that he cannot assist the management in preparation of financial statements is kind of wrong. So this is also wrong here. What did this say? I think I missed something out here. CAP can assist management in preparation of financial statements. The company, yeah, okay. So here obviously he can do both. Okay, like not both at the same time, but here we're just talking about whether they can do it separately or not. Okay, so obviously here he can assist the management in preparation of financial statements, and he can issue a compilation. So he can do both, but not both together. Okay, so that is something that is to be remembered. Okay, next C, again here it was C, which is correct. Okay, next, and D. Okay, so there is also D, which is correct. Again this is correct, and lastly again was D. This is also correct. Okay, perfect. Okay, we'll just move on to the MCQs now. Which of the following is not an advantage? Remember here it is not. Okay, so not an advantage. Okay, not an advantage. Firstly, it advantage of audit, right? So it provides high quality information. This is correct, right? This is an advantage, right? We have to search for not an advantage. Okay, next, it acts as a moral check. This is also an advantage. It enhances risk of management bias, right? This is obviously not an advantage, right? So this C seems like the obvious correct answer, right? Next, which of the following is not true about an assurance engagement? Okay, again not true. Okay, meaning you have to look for false, right? It relates to providing assurance about historical financial information. Okay, one second. Yeah, I had to sneeze there, right? So I mean, it can be about historical finance. It's not only relating to historical financial, it is relating to prospective financial information also. We just read the other ones. Okay, so here practitioner obtains, correct, he has to obtain evidence. This is true. Remember, we're looking for false. Okay, there is some information to be examined, correct, this is also true, right? A written assurance in a written assurance report is appropriate form issued by the practitioner. This is also true. So I feel like this is the only one that is false. Okay, because it is relating to prospective financial information. Okay, which of the following is true, right? We have to find out whichever is true. Okay, remember in this question we have to find whichever is true. Okay, engagement standards ensure proper rights to practitioner in the course of performance of their duties. Okay, so engagement standards ensure proper rights to practitioners. We'll just go through the next option, right? Engagement standards ensure preparation and presentation in a standardized manner. Okay, next, engagement standards ensure uniformity by practitioners in the course of performance of their duties. Okay, engagement standards ensure in saving resources of the clients. Okay, we'll just check out what the answer is for question number 3. Okay, C. Okay, what was C over here? Ensure engagement standards ensure uniformity by practitioner in the course and performance of their duties. I have a doubt about this one. I'll just let you guys know after this. Okay, consider the following statements in relation to limited assurance services, limited assurance engagement. Statement 1, it involves obtaining sufficient and appropriate evidence. Limited assurance engagement, right? It involves obtaining sufficient appropriate evidence to draw reasonable conclusions. I mean, here reasonable could mean high level of accuracy, right? So reasonable is it gives a high level of assurance, right? So since we're talking about limited assurance engagement here, it cannot give a high reasonable or high assurance to the auditor that evidence, because he's relying on limited evidence, right? So obviously the first one is wrong. Okay, so the first one is incorrect. Okay, next, review of the interim financial information of a company is an example of a limited assurance engagement, right? So this is correct. This is correct actually. So interim financial, what does interim financial statement mean? Interim financial statements are half yearly, like, or for in an interim period, meaning somewhere between, basically not at the end of the year, so anywhere between this, these are the interim financial statements of quarterly or half yearly, or those financial statements. So one is wrong and two is correct. So basically one is incorrect and statement 2 is correct. So option is D. Which of the following is true about the standards on auditing? Okay, so obviously this is false, right? Deals mainly with the voluntary responsibilities. It is not voluntary, it is obviously mandatory responsibility. We'll just read the other. Okay, these deal mainly with the mandatory responsibilities of auditors. The sole purpose is to help government authorities in augmenting revenue. We have to find whichever is true, right? So this is true, right? It mainly deals with mandatory responsibilities of auditors. These deal, okay, this is also wrong. So B is the only one that is correct. Okay, next, right, to correct and incorrect. Okay, so basic objective of an audit, right? Here, what is the definition of audit? Audit is an independent examination of the financial information of any entity, okay, irrespective of or rather whether profit oriented or not, irrespective of size or legal form, right? So obviously the basic objective of the audit does not change, right? So audit is an independent examination, whether profit oriented or not, of any entity, irrespective of size or legal form, right? Next, the purpose of an audit is to enhance the degree of the confidence of the intended user. Okay, so obviously this was in the definition of assurance engagement, right? So assurance engagement covers audit as well, right? So therefore I feel like this is also correct. Okay, so this is also correct. Lastly, the auditor is not expected to and cannot reduce audit risk to zero. Correct, obviously. Therefore, he cannot obtain and cannot therefore obtain absolute assurance. Correct. That free from material misstatement. Correct. Okay. So obviously, audit risk cannot be reduced to zero. Okay. So those all three are correct. Okay. Next, theoretical question. Choosing of appropriate accounting policies in relation to accounting issues is responsibility of. Do you agree? Discuss the duty of an auditor in relation to its accounting policies. Okay, we'll just go through the question. We'll just go through the answer. Okay. Choosing appropriate is the responsibility of the management, right? Which is correct. The role of the auditor lies in evaluating the selection of and consistent application of accounting policies. Refer to the scope of audit. Okay, so what does the scope of audit include? Right, so basically they were asking what scope of audit is. So firstly, it should cover all aspects, right? Secondly, it should ensure reliability and sufficiency of the financial statements, right, or rather financial information. And how does an auditor achieve this? Through checking its accounting system and internal control. Okay, and the thing relating to presentation and disclosure. There are 4 points. Okay? The first point was ensure adequate disclosure. Secondly, ensure compliance with statutory requirement. Third, it was ensure that the financial statement provide an accurate summary. And lastly, it was that it was evaluation of management's judgment, right? So these were the scope of audit. Let's go to the second question. Assurance engagement are not restricted to audit of financial statements alone. Okay, so obviously we have to write down the types of engagement. Okay, so I'll just explain here. Engagements. Firstly, it's relating to historical financial information and, or rather, assurance assurance engagement and other related services. Okay, so here assurance engagement is again of split into two more types, relating to historical financial information and others. Okay, so again, historical financial information, there can be of two types. One is in the form of audit, right, which gives a reasonable assurance, and review engagement, right, review. This gives a limited assurance or a moderate assurance, right? And this is other assurance engagements. Okay, so obviously this audits are covered by SAs, reviews are covered by SREs, and these other assurance engagements are covered by SAEs, stands on assurance engagement, and other related services. These give they're not asked here, so let's just not write it. Okay, we'll just skip that. So they've just asked about assurance engagements. Okay, so assurance engagements can be relating to historical financial information, which can be further divided into audit, review, and other non-historical financial information related services or assurance services, which are covered by standards on assurance engagements. Okay, next. Assurance engagement involves three-party relationship. Discuss the meaning of the three parties and such. Okay, so here again it's like a revision, right? So assurance engagement is, just dive into the meaning of assurance engagement for a second. Okay, so it is when So it is when a practitioner obtains sufficient appropriate evidence in order to express a conclusion designed to enhance the degree of confidence of the intended user, other than the responsible party, about the outcome of the evaluation or measurement of subject matter against a criteria. Right? So here, what are the three parties that they're talking about? Here, there's a practitioner, the person who checks the subject matter against the criteria. He checks the subject matter against the criteria. And second is this intended user, the person who relies on the subject matter to make an informed economic or to make an economic decision, right? An informed economic decisions. And lastly, the responsible party. The responsible party is the party that is responsible for preparation of the subject matter as per the relevant criteria. Okay, so these are the three parties that are involved. Okay. Next. Fourth question. A chartered accountant is specifically asked to check the accounts whether fraud exists. Okay, see here, this is not an audit. Okay, not an audit. This is an investigation. Okay, basically you'll have to explain what an investigation is, right? Next, audit does not provide absolute assurance. Discuss how nature of audit procedures itself is, Okay, again, when I was talking about the nature of audit procedures over here, basically that's all that you have to write. You can start with all this, right? You can start with all this. Audit does not just right. So here, audit does not provide absolute assurance. It provides only a reasonable assurance, right? Provides only a reasonable assurance. Audit evidence is only persuasive. It is not conclusive. Okay, so it is not conclusive. Internal controls also provide reasonable assurance. Okay. Increase in audit procedure will not help auditors. So this is like the base for your answer. So this is base for answer. Okay, so this is what you'll have to write, and you can start with how nature of audit procedures is itself a inherent limitation of audit, right? So firstly, when it comes to inherent limitations of audit regarding nature of audit procedures, first the two words that are supposed to immediately jump into your mind are practical and legal limitation. Okay, so it is not practical to apply audit procedures to all the transactions. Okay, it is not practical. And as to the legal limitations, auditor is not provided with the power to conduct searches, and he is not provided the power to take sworn statements, right? Next, the 3 points regarding the management. Okay, so management is not giving info. Next is management is giving fabricated info. Lastly, the management has entered into related party transactions, right? So these are the nature inherent limitations relating to the nature of audit procedures. Okay, I think that is it relating to the study mat. Okay, I think that is sufficient for today. Okay, we'll just cover the question bank in the next video. There's going to be a very long video because there's already I think there's almost 26 questions in the question bank. Yeah, so almost 26 questions are here. Okay, we just cover it in the next class. Okay, cool. See you. Tata. Bye bye.